My name is John Schlegel, and my story is that it was September 11th, it was 2001, and our world completely changed. That morning I woke up, and our country was under attack. We had lives that were lost unnecessarily, travel seized immediately in one moment. Fear, anxiety completely consumed the entire country. And I got a call from my boss that day. I think my pager went off, and it was Yasu-san. And he said, we need to have an all-manager meeting. We need you to come in immediately. And so I'll never forget, at 11 o'clock on September 11th, I walked in and saw Takuma-san, Koji-san, Toshi, and Yasu. And we sat at a table, and they all looked at me as the only American and said, are you okay? I'll never forget that moment. Can you imagine, you guys, the entire world overnight being seized from something completely out of your control? I think we probably all can. I think that the events of COVID and 9/11, while very, very different, have incredible parallels. I think the anxiety, the nervousness that consumed a lot of us is undeniable. Those events, completely unforgettable. And yet, to dwell on it, for me, is a fool's journey. Today, right now, what we get to do is celebrate. We're in a moment together of being part of something so much bigger than us. We get to value the most important thing in our life, which is time. And together, we get to share with our peers the thing that we love the most, our passion, which is experiences. It is an honor and it is a privilege to introduce one of my greatest teachers and mentors of my life, Yasu-san, who's here to talk to us about creating experiences in his speech called The Matchmaker.
Hi, good morning. I have 10 minutes. So, anyway, we work late and we stay up late. So, I was writing what to talk about today late at night, actually around 1 or 2. So, I was half asleep, so I forgot about what I wrote. So I brought my script. So I'm going to read it, if you don't mind. Yeah. Anyway, first of all, John, thank you so much for the introduction. I and John, we have known each other for the longest time. After he started work for us at Sushi, many years ago, he talked about his dreams. I clearly recall what he said. John, do you remember that? What he said was he wanted to open up his own place. And I understood immediately what he was talking about, because same thing happened to us too. When you are, I'm older, a lot older now, but when you are young and, stupid, you don't think about too much, right? Because your passion grabs you. So you feel you need to do whatever you want to do. So maybe some people may say that's a little bit naive, but in order to jump into something that would change your entire life, you have to be a little bit stupid. And otherwise, you worry about too many things. And I think there are a lot of restaurant owners or managers. I think your passion grabbed you to move into this industry. Passion must take over everything, including stupidity, right? So here we are. After many years of journey, including recent pandemic, we are still standing here. In my case, our journey began when we are very young, 5 or 6 years old. Over the years, we have been asked why we chose our profession. Simple answer was, or is, our mother couldn't cook well. So we had no choice but to cook for ourselves. Plus, she and my father worked in the field at a farm in southern Japan until very late at night. So even when we were little boys, my brothers and I cooked for ourselves. We had no choice. So by the time we were teenagers, we could cook quite well. At least we knew what we had to do to cook and so on. So when I think of this, I thank my mother for being a lousy cook. Yeah. Now, by the time we started to cook professionally, it's been 49 years gone. Meanwhile, I left my home in Japan to live in London for 10 years. When I worked in a Japanese restaurant there, I am now 69, and the journey still continues. When I think about all these years, what changed me most was the realization of the power of the food we create. One night, many years ago, when I was making sushi for one of the regular guests at the sushi bar, by seeing him fully immersed in the experience of the sushi I created, something unexpected that happened to me. This something changed me. How I approach the food. So it was like waking up after many years of sleep. I felt finally I was awake. What I realized was one piece of sushi can create such a tremendous sensation, impact with a guest. It can touch people's core being. One piece of sushi can create one's energy, emotion, feeling, thoughts, etc. One piece of sushi can become part of ourselves, our eyesight, skin or hair, and so on. Not only nourishing the body, but also give a mental and emotional experience that impact to the guest. This was a powerful realization for me, and I was finally awake. Since then, it brings me so much joy making sushi every day. So what I do nowadays at the restaurant is to focus on chef's table. In Japanese, we call it omakase. It means leave it to the chef you trust. There are many chefs in this group here. I'm sure you also get involved with your own chef's table. As a chef, when we are asked to create something for the guest, something happens to us. It is a challenge that excites us. However, when I was younger, and when I was asked to do omakase, my pride took over me, and not considering the guest who receive our creations. Also, since sushi is a rather expensive food, we really need to meet our guests' higher expectations in order to overcome the deficit. So this realization changed me in how I approach chef's table. I began to curate the menu toward their desires. Specifically speaking, whenever the request for the chef's table comes in, I ask guests many questions in advance about their likes and dislikes. This is to understand guest needs. So I need to know their flavor profile, how hungry they are, all that. Instead of just creating what I think is the best, I now involve guests in creating menu. So I need to know who the guests are. Last year I had 2,300 guests. I made over 900 menus based on each guest requirement. By the way, as you may know, our youngest brother is at the fish market in southern Japan. So I also need to get him involved in creating the dishes. I basically talked to him, this customer wanting to have certain type of fish. So I asked him to find one. So it is like making a match of what guests are expecting and what fish and ingredients are available. So whenever guests get seated in front of me, I tell them, I'm not a chef. I have never been a chef. Instead, I have been known as a quite good matchmaker. By hearing this, guests have a strange reaction, strange face, hearing that I may not be the chef creating their menu and that I am the matchmaker instead. They often do not know how to respond to me, so what I tell them is that I am introducing them to these fish tonight, and they do not know which fish they are meeting tonight. And I also tell them fish have no idea who they are about to meet. So I am, it's like setting up a blind date between guest and the fish. And what's great about the blind date is I tell them they can get to take their blind date home tonight. Yeah. So I also explained to them what kind of menu I created for them. So I go through all the menus and explanation of the food, especially tuna. I explain all the different type of tuna. And so when they are actually eating it, they understand which part I am using to create a dish. Lastly, after the dinner, I get home and send a thank you email to the guest. I always do by midnight. This email has tons of interesting tidbits with YouTube videos, including my first fish market visit in southern Japan, wasabi farm in Japan, the island all the fish came from, and the 600 pounds of bluefin tuna auction, etc. Once again, I wanted to have chef's table to be not just eating food. However, it is more like having a deeper experience that guests are deeply involved in. I'm 69 years old, and let's see how far I can go. Thank you.